Dan RadioStyle, I hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. We have another Neville Nugget and even, in fact, a Goddard goodie. Chapter 19, Out of the Law and the Promise. This book just gets better and better. And oddly, a little crazier and crazier. He writes with a lot of square brackets in this particular chapter. Hard to read, so we're going to work our way through it. But it's called The Essentials. And it really is talking about the essentials from Goddard's perspective. And I totally agree right up front. The three of them, so you don't have to watch the whole video. Desire, number one. Physical immobility, number two. And assumption of the feeling of the wish fulfilled. So go ahead. You can run about your merry way. For those of you that want to hear kind of what Goddard has to say and then a little bit of a, hey, here's my thoughts on what he's talking about. There is some amazing information in here that we're going to jump to right now. The essential points in the successful use of the law of assumption are these. First, and above all, yearning, longing, intense, burning desire. With all your heart, you must want to be different from what you are. Intense, burning desire, combined with intention to make good. That helps, right? That's one of the bracket things he says. So let me try to say that sentence again. Maybe without the brackets, maybe it sounds better. Intense, burning desire is the mainspring of action, the beginning of all successful ventures. That sounds much better. In every great passion, desire is concentrated. That's it, okay? Good Lord. Hard to read. In every great passion, desire is concentrated. Now, the reason it's hard is because he puts in brackets in here, which achieves its objective and intention you must first desire and then intend to succeed. What he's talking about here is that burning desire and that intention to succeed without a doubt. But what he's also kind of throwing in there is the good part. He keeps making a point to kind of bring in good. I don't know if that's something that they brought in later in editing or not. But it is an important concept I've found when trying to manifest. Whenever I try to manifest something that may not be so good for others that I'm involved with, I've actually found it's a little harder to make that manifestation occur. It's not just me I'm trying to affect. It's not just them that they can say, no, I don't really want to go for this. But there's actually other souls on the line. That's kind of my perspective, my take on it. Should be used for good. When it's used for non-good, nefarious purposes, bad things can happen. And I don't want to get too far off into that. But he even hints at it further in this chapter. Again, I've read some of the stuff he's read, and there's some definite warnings that you get when you try to do selfish or greedy or nefarious kinds of things. There are certain blowbacks that can tend to happen. So you must first desire these things is a really important aspect of creating change in your life. Now, creating change in your life can be manifesting a specific person. It can be manifesting more money. It can be manifesting a car, a boat, a friend, a family, a job, whatever, right? It can be anything because it's different from what's going on right now. You're manifesting a change. And really, what we experience on the outside is a reflection of what's going on the inside and in us, right? So, as within, so without, as they frequently say. We're working on ourselves to work on what's going on outside ourselves. So in order to change, because sometimes change can be a little challenging, and let's use one of the obvious ones, like losing weight, for example, you got to make some changes. There's a lot that kind of goes with that, and sometimes there's even a psychological thing. Stopping smoking. When I did that, a lot of psychological stuff that goes into the whole idea of, I don't want to do this. This is hard. So change kind of has that very innate part of itself that wants to keep you where you are, wants to keep you from rising to the occasion, but really, that's what we need to do. So the change is important. You must have a burning desire, one, to support any potential changes that we need to make personally, such as, eating less maybe, or eating better foods, or stop buying cookies, or whatever. That difference, you need that desire that's strong enough, that burning desire for me with cigarettes, where it's like, I don't want to do day one ever again, right? Like I was hanging out with buddies when I was in Texas. They were smoking up like chimneys. I didn't want any of it. Now, I don't mind the smell. I'm like, I'll take the secondhand. It's delicious. But no, I don't want it ever again. And that's just, again, it's that desire to keep yourself on track. So, as the heart panteth after the water brooks, so panteth my soul after thee, O God. Blessed are they that hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Here the soul is interpreted as the sum total of all you believe, think, and feel, and as well as accept as true. In other words, your present level of awareness, I am, the source of fulfillment of all desires, these brackets again. This quotation describes how your present level of awareness longs to transcend itself. Now, in a sense, we all wish to be more than we are right now. It's like in anything in life, like you practice anything long enough, you tend to get better at it. If you do anything long enough, it tends to get boring and you want more excitement. You're in a relationship long enough and certain things start to get normal, you have to switch it up and do different things to try to get that spice back. It's just an innate thing that happens as you do something 100 times. It gets a certain level of repetition. So we constantly long to improve upon it, to change it, to make it better, to expand further than we were before. Now, one thing, I mean, Neville Goddard's right on the money, but another person that's probably borrowed it from similar places, but Neil Donald Walsh talks about your, you know, as Goddard says, your present level of awareness longs to transcend itself. Neil Donald Walsh's version of that, best version of the highest vision we ever have held about ourselves. And that is essentially what he's talking about. Here the soul is interpreted, I already read that, good. Righteousness is the consciousness of already being what you want to be. So that's that desire part. That's part one. The burning desire, the desire to be with this person, the desire to be with them no matter what. Even if I've got to change, even if they've got to change, even if we've got to move, desire is something that overcomes obstacles. Desire is legit. It's not just, I just like him. I don't know, he smelled kind of nice, and I don't know, he like shared his Kit Kat with me. Like, I don't know. It needs to be a little more. There needs to be that desire that even when the doubts pop in, even when the questions arise in our minds, even when we're like, I don't know if I can do this. Desire is what pushes you to the end. People don't do Ironmans because it's easy, right? And imagine how you feel when you're at, like, I don't know, mile 1400 or whatever. That's a ridiculous amount of running and bicycling. And right, there's probably a bunch of you guys that can fill in all the gaps. But I am sure at many points throughout that race, you question whether or not you want to do this, why you're doing this, what's the point, why don't I just stop now? Anytime anything that's a challenge to us that we desire to do, that we say, you know what, I'm doing this no matter what, we overcome every obstacle under the sun. We put people on other planets. We put people on the moon. We are able to meet anything. We are able to become DJs at crazy stations. Anything you put your mind to, when you desire it strong enough, you will accomplish it. That's leg one on the stool. Second, cultivate physical immobility. A physical incapacity not unlike the state described by Keats in his Ode de Nightingale. A drowsy numbness pains my senses, as though of hemlock I had drunk. Love poetry. But essentially, immobility is the point when you're kind of fuzzy, kind of just there, sort of experiencing it for the moment, but not really mobile, not moving, not really aware of your body. Kind of it's almost fuzzy. That's why he's talking about drunk on hemlock. Like, it's kind of, I'm conscious, like, everything's groovy there, but I don't really feel my body right now. And I've never particularly had hemlock, so maybe it just makes you numb. I really don't know. But that being said, it is a state akin to sleep, but one in which you are still in control of your direction of attention. You must learn to induce this state at will, but experience has taught me that it is more easily induced after a substantial meal or when you wake in the morning feeling very loath to rise. Then you are naturally disposed to enter this state. The value of physical immobility shows itself in the accumulation of mental force, which absolute stillness brings with it. It increases your power of concentration. When you turn off all the other senses, when you're not really feeling your legs, your extremities, when you're not really moving, you're not really reacting to other stimuli, it creates a really good atmosphere for us to imagine, because you don't have anything else that's pulling at your attention. That's why I suggest when you wake up, or even after a heavy meal, because a lot of times that you want to nap, right, after a heavy meal, so you kind of get into that, and relax, like, I don't really care if I need to go to the store. I'm falling asleep. That's what's happening right now, not me going to the store, or not the fact that I'm out of butter, right? You are doing absolute relaxation. So at that point, when you're thinking about this desire you have, more money, more wealth, more house, name a planet after you, name a car after you, someone just randomly picks you up and hands you one of those big size checks and it's got like a bunch of zeros. You don't even know. You're like, I don't even have to count this. Do you have commas on that? I can't read. How rich am I? May that happen to all of us. But it's holding that thought It's that imagination. It's being in that place. It's the fact that you don't have any other competition in your body, in your space. Meditation's a good place where you can sometimes do this so long as you can get yourself into a place where you're not really paying attention to other things. You know, if you could turn off the lights and just not even be bothered by external light, like these places where you can get yourself from that place and do the imagining from there, you can have an amazing, way more powerful experience. That whole being still concept. So be still and know that I am God is the quote he, of course, brings in. In fact, the greater energies of the mind seldom break forth, save when the body is stilled and the door of the senses closed to the objective world. Really is. That's one of the main reasons why meditation's awesome. One, to kind of help clear the mind, let stuff just flow and go. But also it kind of helps us get to that very stable, very relaxed place to where we can actually do some very amazing imaginal work. So first we got desire. Now we got imagination. Oh, what could number 3 be? Oh, come on. Assuming the wish fulfilled? Hello, of course that's what's following. The third and last thing you do to experience in your imagination what you would experience in reality had you achieved your goal. More brackets. Imagine that you possess a quality or something you desire which hitherto has not been yours. Surrender yourself completely to this feeling until your whole being is possessed by it. This state differs from the reverie in this respect. It is the result of a controlled imagination and a steadied concentration or concentrated attention. Whereas reverie is a result of an uncontrolled imagination, usually just a daydream. So he's talking about imagining that you possess the quality, right, all that good stuff, but doing it in such a way where it's intentional and you're not drunk. That's why he's saying the reverie. I had to look it up. It's a French word, I guess, kind of means to be drunk, basically. And so in the process of not being drunk per se, because when you're doing that and thoughts are falling on you, he says that's more of a daydream. When you do it intentionally, it's that conscious thought. Now, people have asked, which is more powerful, the daydream or the controlled thought, right? And I will say this, they're both the same thing. And depending if they spark emotion, that's really where the powerful is in regards to, right? If you're daydreaming about the person you love and you have an emotional experience with it, like, oh, and you get chills and, oh, shoot, what am I doing? Oh my God, I'm striving, right? That's, okay, you just had an emotional experience and you were manifesting or thinking about your specific person in a very positive way. Hey, guess what? You're sending awesome positive juice towards your manifestation. And if I consciously think about that person, I think about them to such a point where I actually feel like, oh, I get goosebumps. I love you. Right? Like, bam, that works too. They're equal in my book. Now, if you're just daydreaming about something, weird, well, now you're just kind of wasting space or you're letting your unconscious thoughts kind of lead you versus intentionally focusing on what it is that you would like to experience. Well, choice B is much, much more practical when trying to manifest things. So again, daydreaming's not bad in and of itself. It's what you're daydreaming about and whether or not it's towards anything that benefits you. Now, I will also say daydreaming can also be a receptive. So I'm just going to throw that for the spiritually-ish type of people out there. A lot of the times when you get into a receiving state, you can just kind of get like a daydream experience that can very well be kind of an intuitive experience as well. So not to totally confuse people, but daydreams are not bad per se. If you're daydreaming about bad things, yeah, you probably want to do something about that and change your thoughts to something else. If you're daydreaming about anything that's interesting or good, well, yeah, enjoy it. Run with it, as they would say. So, imagine that you possess the quality of something you desire, and bam, hitherto, it is yours. In this controlled state, a minimum of effort suffices to keep your consciousness filled with the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The physical and mental immobility of this state is a powerful aid to voluntary attention and a major factor of minimum effort. The application of these 3 points, once again, desire, physical immobility, and the assumption of the wish already fulfilled. These 3 points, the application of these, and you've got the core. This is what manifesting is per Goddard. Bam, even though we're halfway through this book. Power of Awareness, long book. So these 3 things, the power of the wish of the assumption of the wish already fulfilled is the way to at-one-ment or atonement or union with your objectives. Oh my Lord, with all these brackets, it's brutal. I'm telling you, this is a brutal chapter with all these brackets all the way to the end of that paragraph. It's unreal. One of the most prevalent misunderstandings is that this law works only for those having a devout or religious objective. Not true. This is a fallacy. It works just as impersonally as the law of electricity works. It can be used for greedy, selfish purposes as well as noble ones. But it should always be borne in mind that ignoble thoughts and actions inevitably result in unhappy consequences. I feel like this is kind of where Goddard gets really close to tap dancing onto this line that some of us in metaphysics kind of don't want to cross. And he is talking about some of the dangers of trying to wish things on people that do not benefit them or are of a more malicious behavior or more malicious thoughts or more of a negative thought or more of a getting even kind of thought, or basically thoughts that come from fear, hatred, anger. These kinds of emotional-based thoughts create some very bad effects, at least from the standpoint of if you're trying to create love with someone, but yet you're doing things to try to control them because you want them to, right? That will have bad effects. So it's an issue of us pushed out again, like people talk about, but now you're sending out kind of a uglier vibe. And so maybe that's a little bit, the way it comes back on us sometimes will bite you. I don't want to get into too many specifics on it, but Goddard brings it up twice. Once kind of subtly, second time a little more directly, but he talks about how make sure you keep your thoughts on the up and up. My general rule, as long as it's benefiting the most people, that's the good way to go. And I usually throw that caveat on it. I don't know, I did a video 3 years ago probably where I said this, but generally speaking, I throw it out there where so long as this benefits everybody involved, let it be so. And I honestly, because I don't want to manifest something that's not good for all involved, period. I know that's not a good idea. Karmically, it's got some problems. And again, it's one of those things where if this isn't harmonious for the most number of people, it's not a good idea. It's me being selfish. I need to look at my ego. This is just the way I process. So just be careful when we're coming at it. So the big thing that Goddard tells us to take home from this, and this really is just gorgeous and beautiful. And I mean, it's as simple can get. Desire, burning desire. I think about the radio. I was thinking about it in these terms, and I'm like, I'm going to be a DJ. I'm going to do this. I don't care what I got to do. Like, it was that desire. It was the love of what I was doing. I was learning more about it. I was just so interested in this thing that I was creating. So I had a desire beyond belief. Certainly when manifesting some people in my life, there's been such a powerful desire to be in that place with that person, caring and loving and being with them. There's been desire for relationships with friends, for travel. Like, I'd love to see what it's like to be in New York, like as an example. That desire, that powerful desire, is what will open us up to the possibilities. Physical immobility, meaning try to do, at least at some point daily, be in a place where maybe you just woke up, where you just had a meal, where you're in the shower meditating, whatever, where you can kind of shut off external stimuli. Not notice anything else that's happening. Not pay attention to whether it's light or dark. Not pay attention to whether it's cold or hot. Not pay attention to anything. And just use that immobility, that stillness, and that kind of sloth state, if you will. And imagine, to the best of your ability, to the most that you can give it legs, if you will, to be able to see it with all the senses, to be able to put yourself into it, as he even says, to put yourself into the actual image itself. You want to be in it. You don't want to be witnessing yourself from back. You want to actually be in, like, if you're a specific person and you're hugging them, you want to see their face like it's right here. You don't want to be looking back like you see your two heads hugging each other. You want to actually be seeing it from your vantage point. You want to be there. You want to see his head, his big fat melon right in front of you. Bye! Right? That's how you want to imagine the scene from. What's it like to be there? So you've got a burning desire. You're immobile and imagining some of the most beautiful scenes. And oddly, while you're doing this, you cover number 3, you start to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You actually are there. It's becoming real. You're in the moment. You've got no other stimuli. So at this very second, until you question it 4 seconds later, but for right now, you're believing this like this is real. You're believing it like it's right now. You're believing like it's happening in your very life. It is occurring in your now, and it is real. And you're believing it. And then eventually you'll think, and you'll be like, oh, that was fake. That was just imagining. I was blah, blah. I know, but for the moment when you're doing it, you're immobile, your desire, bam, you've got the assuming of the wish fulfilled. Now, you are sending out this wave, this powerful push of energy. That's how I envision it. But you're sending out that feeling, that experience, that, it must be so. With that desire, with that feeling of reality of it, with that it's happening right now. And just, and you throw up an awesome, beautiful rainbow, as I think I said way back when. Show them your rainbow, right? Just splash that out on them. And it's an amazing experience. 3 things: desire, physical immobility, and assumption of the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Dan, Radio Style.